Just a second. Hey everyone, this is Mark. Thanks for taking a moment to watch this video. And I'm very, very pleased to bring on a couple of guys who I've had the great pleasure of getting to know over time. The young man on the right, his name is Jay. And the younger man on the left, his name is Michael. And I affectionately refer to them as the Elvis on Tour guys. So just a briefly, I want to let them really get into it. But what they do and what makes their channel very unique here on YouTube is they basically travel across the country. They visit all the majority of the venues, arenas that Elvis toured, mainly, I believe, through the 70s. They also visit the hotel that him and his entourage stayed at, whether they're in the city for a day or so before they went to their next city. But they use great video shots. They retrace Elvis as he was back in his dressing room. They show you before and after shots. They um, um, show what it looked like back then. It usually shows a picture of Elvis and his dad and people who were in his circle. And then they'll come to present time and show you what it looks like there. And then what's really cool is they add audio, usually from that particular concert, and they'll show step by step the path that Elvis took to get on stage. They'll show you the arena. They'll show you like a bird's eye view of where a certain seat was. And then, like I said, the hotel stay. So it's very unique in that it's not like my channel and some of the other channels that, I try to, toss it up and make it fresh. But I heard about these guys. I started following them probably about a year ago. And when I say that their material is second to none, it is. And that's not just blowing steam. It's good quality stuff. Um, Jay does a lot of the visuals of himself and outside the arena. Some of them are still standing and are in use. Some of them are kind of dilapidated. Some of them, I understand, have been torn down. Um, and then Michael, his son, does a lot of the commentary. And together, they just, as a team, father and son, they do a great job. So, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having us.
So, I guess just to jump right into it, I wanted to ask, how long have you both been doing this?
Well, I started with my mom years ago, even before Elvis passed away. My mom was in the travel business, and she, went all over the country. And every time she was a huge Elvis fan, and whenever she would take me to work with her, and whenever we would go to a city that Elvis had played, she would say, when I get a couple hours, we'll walk down and we'll see the building where Elvis played. And sometimes she would even take me to the hotel. I remember we toured Nashville one time, a long time ago, and we went down and saw the building, the Coliseum where Elvis had played in Nashville, and then we went to the hotel. And because she was in the travel business, she was able to work out the chance for us to go up to the presidential suite in the hotel in Nashville. And that's kind of what got it started. My mom passed away back in 2013, but she was basically the startup of all this, kind of taking me around. We're going back, 50.
So, kind of like myself, you got into Elvis through your mom. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And then when did Michael start coming with you and joining you on the journeys and start documenting everything? And did you guys start out documenting it right away, or did you just go for the sake of it and then a couple of years ago decide to make it a YouTube channel?
Right. Yeah. So I have an older brother who has played baseball all of his life, and when he would have games and everything, that was kind of all of us in the family. We would travel to go to those baseball games, and so that was kind of my brother and his thing. And then when my brother kind of was in college and was graduating, him and I started traveling a lot, and so we started going to these cities that Elvis performed in. And other than Elvis in the cities, you see so much traveling the country that you usually wouldn't see. And then when COVID hit and we were all stuck in the house, we're like, why don't we, to pass the time, make this, YouTube, Instagram, and all that to share it with other people. So that's how that started.
And even your Instagram, I'm of course a follower there. That's even blown up. I've seen in the last few months. What's really cool about the Instagram is Jay, and you and I talked about this. We had did a meet and greet about a month or month and a half ago, and I actually pulled it up yesterday, and I was gonna copy and paste it and send it into an email to Michael, but it was about a month ago, month and a half ago, you had put in where um, Elvis's next tour was going to start, I believe, the day after he had passed away, and they showed the jumpsuit that he was actually going to wear on that tour.
Right.
And the picture I saw, they of course they superimposed it, but it showed him in that jumpsuit, and they said that was the jumpsuit that he was meant to wear in the first city of that tour.
Right.
So, like I said, the guys have like tons and tons of. Not only is it on their Facebook or their YouTube channel, but it's on the Instagram channel. And I know you guys got a ton of followers for that, but just the information and the pictures and the photography and all the stuff that I've been a fan for, well, 50 years this year. I'm 54 and I started following Elvis when I was 4 years old. And every time I read something from your Instagram page, I see something new that I never knew. Like I never knew that jumpsuit existed. I never knew, what those plans were. Um, so yeah, and your most recent video is actually one of my favorites. It's the one where he was in the red. They call it the Burning Love jumpsuit. That was in. I want to say was that in Texas,
Little Rock.
Little Rock, Arkansas. So,
It was,
um, so do you guys have certain venues that stood out that you both one like this one, Jay, you may have liked this one, or one that you both equally liked together, or was there a certain city that stood out as far as the venue itself, the experience of going there, and so forth?
Um, at least for me, there's venues where it's like we go there and it's like there's so much information on it. Like there's video, there's audio, there's a ton of photos, and those are exciting for like Greensboro because there's footage of them backstage. There's tons of photos. There was a ton of concerts there, audio, all that stuff. But then we go to these other venues where, on the other hand, there's not a lot of photos and videos, but the people there are really nice. There's a lot of stories that they have to share. There's a lot of history in the building. So it kind of depends on like the building we go to because there's some venues that there's very little on Elvis there because he might have did like one concert there, but other than Elvis, there might be a ton of history there. So it really depends. My favorite Elvis wise was probably Greensboro and Little Rock because there's a lot of history there.
History.
Yeah.
Now, Greensboro is where he wore in '72 for Elvis on tour, where he wore the dark blue. Some
Yeah.
people say purple jumpsuit with
Right.
the owl, which he references in that concert,
Right.
the owl belt buckle.
Right.
And that's actually one of my favorite jumpsuits that he did. And he didn't wear that one very often, did he?
No. Going back to that question that you asked about, it's funny because we like buildings for different reasons. Some of the buildings we love from an architecture standpoint. Hampton Roads is one of the most beautiful buildings, and it's in our home state of Virginia. So we've been by there. In fact, that was the first Coliseum that my mom took me to see, and that is one of the most beautiful buildings. The Scope in Norfolk, where we performed, also our home state, that is a beautiful building there as well. But then for other reasons, like he was mentioning, Greensboro was very special because Elvis on Tour was filmed there. Little Rock, very special because again, Elvis on Tour filmed there. So you've got footage of rooms that he was in that you can go find those rooms. And one thing I'd always tell people to keep in mind, when you post this stuff, that a lot of times people wonder, is that really the room? Because this looks, you got to understand these rooms have, these buildings have changed a little bit. They'll knock out a wall, enlarge the room. They'll build like in the case of Little Rock, if you just went into that Coliseum and started walking around, you would never find that room. You could have that footage right in front of you. You're never going to find that room because the room that they were in '72, there was literally a room built within that room. So it changed the complete makeup of that room.
Well, I
So,
think in your video, you said that I remember, I know exactly the part you're talking about where it was another room like adjacent, and they put a wall right over it. Like they just put bricks right over it.
Right. And the funny part about it is because years ago, like maybe 2004, I was reading a blog and it said these guys literally got in an argument in the not so much an argument, but strong disagreement about where that was filmed. And one guy said, look, he only wore that red suit once. And and I'm thinking in my mind, no, on that tour he wore it 3 times, once in Little Rock, once in Hampton, and once in Richmond. And then they started talking about, couldn't have been filmed in Little Rock, it had to have been filmed in Richmond. So as we started doing more and more of these buildings, I had a just a strong desire to get to Little Rock because I knew that it was filmed.
Get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, because we it couldn't have been filmed in Hampton Roads because we'd been to Hampton Roads. We knew it wasn't there. We've been to Richmond. We've been backstage in Richmond where Elvis, we were in the room. It's in our Richmond video. We were in that room. That room is underground, so there's no windows there. So the only other place that it could have been was Little Rock. And I said, we're going to go to Little Rock. We're going to get in there, and we're going to put this to bed once and for all. And we did, and it just, like Michael said, one of our favorite videos.
Well, in another video, and it might have been the same one. I apologize because I think the video came up a couple weeks ago, and I watched it. I think I watched it twice. But Michael had talked about where one of the backstage pictures, when they released it, the picture was inverted. It was backwards. And you could tell because I guess that the name tags or whatever was backwards. And that was something that you guys picked up on.
Michael picked up on that.
Yeah, that was from our Greensboro, when we did our Greensboro tour and our video. And I was just, when we put the video up in a Little Rock video, I was like, hey, this is inverted if you haven't seen the Greensboro video.
One thing, actually 2 things I want to say. One thing about our channel that we take a great deal of pride in is we do a tremendous amount of research. And we kind of have a saying between us that if we don't know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we don't put it in the video. We don't guess at it. We don't we don't assume. We don't.
Yeah.
We want to try to put out. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to say for 1 second that we're never going to make a mistake. I'm not so bold to say anything like that. But what I am trying to say is that we do 110% making sure that we research it. We talk to people. A lot of the stuff, like when I used to do this with my mom, we could go into buildings where the guy that worked backstage in maintenance or something says, yeah, I saw the man and I can tell you what room he was in. And I can tell you, well, that stuff, those people are gone now because that's, 50 years ago. So those people are long gone. They don't work in these buildings anymore. But what happens is those, especially for Elvis, a guy might be able to tell you maybe like where the what room the Rolling Stones were held in before they went on stage. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. But every building we've ever gone in, they can tell you where all those stories get handed down. So when we lay that information out, we're laying it out based on eyewitness accounts, stories that were told. We line up photographs, we line up, movie footage, and so we make sure we get it right before we put it out there.
Now I'm going to kind of not really get off base of what you do, but because of your knowledge, I have a feeling you're going to know the answer to this. Just my gut tells me. So I was watching Elvis on tour, and I had noticed, I saw it on YouTube, and then I actually pulled out my copy and watched it. And I can't remember what city it was in, but I had noticed when he was backstage, he's adjusted his scarf and he's getting, they're fixing his cape and he's fixing his rings and everything. But I noticed the 2001 theme was different in one of the concerts. Did MGM, or did they do that purposely, or was that? And if so, what was the reason behind that?
Yeah. They didn't own the rights to that song.
Oh, so what you're hearing in the film is not what was actually being played. It was the actual 2001 theme. Because I heard that, like I first heard it about, and I never noticed. I've seen the movie a couple times, and in case you probably already know this, it's actually getting very hard to get a copy of it. And if you can get a copy of it, it's expensive. Like I'm seeing it on eBay for like $60, $80, $100 and some dollars. because they don't make them anymore. So I actually got lucky. I found somebody had a brand new copy, and it was a rip in the cellophane. I got it for like $30, so I jumped on it. But I'm watching it and I'm hearing this. I'm like, that's not the 2001 theme. It has elements of it,
Yeah.
but it is so different. And I could be wrong, but I could have swore you guys had mentioned that in one of the videos too, that music was not the same. But that's the reason, because they didn't own the rights.
Yeah, he actually put that in the Little Rock video when we did the Little Rock. And
I listen, like I said, I sometimes forget certain elements and the cities and all that, but I remember certain things that you guys say. So yeah, I mean, some of the videos, some of the places that you visited, some of them are kind of almost sad. 'Cause I know a couple of them. There was one that you did probably close to a year ago, and you were standing outside, and there was some really eloquent designs on the facade of the building, almost like tiles or something. And I think you said you tried to get in, and I might be mixing up a couple of your videos or cities together, but you couldn't get in because I guess there was mold inside the buildings. There was no floor in the arena, and I think they were getting ready to demolish it in the coming months. But I can't remember. Am I mixing a couple of videos together?
Oh no, you're right. And if you go on our Lincoln, Nebraska, you'll see the video up there. We're working hand in hand with a lady in Lincoln that's they're trying to save that mural. They're little 1-inch by 1-inch tiles, and it's this huge. I forget the total dimension, but it covers the entire front of the Coliseum. And
back in its day, it was probably stunning.
Well, it's beautiful now. I mean, we were there. We took pictures of it. It's beautiful. But what they're going to tear it down, and this group that they're into art and stuff like that. They want to go in and they want to basically they have to do like an asbestos abatement thing, and it's going to cost a couple $1 million just to get this thing removed. But they want to save it. So I got a call from the lady that is in charge of this, and she said, can you help me out with this and get some Elvis fans involved, from the Elvis world? And I said, absolutely. So we posted it up on our channel, and if you guys are, if there's anybody out there that's art lovers and they want to help out, it's a piece of Elvis history, but it's also a piece of Nebraska history, and it's art history. So it's three things there that you choose which one, maybe all three of them.
Yeah. And what I also noticed on, I think it was your post yesterday, where you're trying to get people to spread the word. There's, I don't know how many hours upon hours upon hours of footage that have been filmed for Elvis on Tour that for whatever reason, Lord knows what, MGM won't release it. The Pat Warner Brothers, is it Warner Brothers or MGM?
I think
Warner Brothers now. MGM was who shot it originally.
Who shot it, but Warner Brothers owns the rights.
Correct.
That's what it was. So Warner Brothers, they've been petitioned. I know there's been tens of thousands of signatures going to them. And the last I heard on it, probably about 6-8 weeks ago, is somebody said that they got a response back. This is on another Facebook group that I follow. They said that they did respond, and they said, once the pandemic settles down, we'll revisit it. Which what I hear from that is thanks, but no thanks. Because I truly believe, with this being the 50th anniversary, I in my heart believe if they were going to release something, I think you'd have heard about it and you would have an idea of what's coming out. And you're pushing it and trying to make sure that, voices get heard. Elvis fans want this. And it's a shame because there's so much out there. And you look at, if you go on YouTube, you can find stuff that hit the cutting room floor and stuff that had never been seen before. And there's just so many gems out there and vocals that he did, and it seemed like he had a lot of fun on that tour. I've heard people say, "Oh, he looked heavier and he looked this and that." I thought he looked fantastic. I thought he sounded even better. And me personally, and I'm sure you're going to chime in with this, it bugs me when people are critical about stuff like that. Elvis had his demons, that's for sure. But I mean, the one thing that he did that never ever faltered was that voice. Never faltered. Even if you listen to him in 1976 and even that last tour in 77, his voice was powerful.
I tell people all the time, one of my favorite things to share with people, I said, listen to Bridge Over Troubled Water 1972 in Hampton Coliseum, Greensboro, wherever what you pick which one you want to listen to. And then go on YouTube and pull up his final show in Indianapolis in 1977.
Yep.
And listen to Bridge Over Troubled Water. In fact, really listen to, there's several of those songs on there where he was really challenged vocally, and the guy nailed it. And
well, there was that, there was Hurt,
right.
Unchained Melody.
Well, you can look at Pittsburgh. You can look at Pittsburgh on New Year's Eve, 76. You can look at, there's so many of those shows there. And I always said that his voice was much more, it was just so aged and so smooth and pure, so much different than, listen to like when he first came back on in 1969 and in 70, some of those performances, he is like a caged tiger, man. He's just like, he's literally like screaming the words. And then you move that clock forward 7 years in June of 77, man, he sounded better than I think than he ever did.
Well, and you're always going to get critique. You're always going to get people who have their opinions, because I had just seen something yesterday when somebody had said that, I don't know why they used footage from those last, because I think the next to the last show, I want to say, was in Cincinnati. And then the following night, which was the last one on June 26th of 77, was the Indianapolis at Market Square Arena. And somebody said, I don't know why he wasn't nearly as good as he was the prior week. And I'm like, people will find fault with anything and everything. And I'm like, I think for what he was dealing with, his health was not good. Everybody, those close to him and those in his inner circle, knew that his health wasn't good. But, he was done. That tour ended on the 26th. He planned on taking July, August. He was going to go out the day after he had passed away. And I mean, he loved his fans. That's the one thing that I've picked up on many, many years ago. Because of who he was, he kind of missed out on that privacy and all that. But I mean, he was adored worldwide, and he always found time for his fans. He never turned people away. He always found time. And that's the one thing for me personally that I really admired about Elvis is, not only his talent, not only his ability, but to me, he was a humanitarian. He generally cared about other people. So I know I kind of went off on a rant there, but I don't know. I take criticism of Elvis almost like I take somebody criticizing a friend of mine. Like, you got to look at all the good he did in such a short period of time. I mean, when you think about it, the fact that he was only with RCA for 21 years and all that he did and all that he accomplished, it's mind blowing to me.
Right. Yeah. Going back to the criticism, that's something that just eats me up, because I sit there and I say, if you want to talk about his weight, give me a person that hasn't gained, as they've gotten older, hadn't gained a pound or two, or 10 or 12 for that matter. The pressure this guy was under, I don't think that anybody, and I've studied about this for several years. You just look at the pressure and in the life, like in the lives that we lead, you don't really understand what it's like that every day you have to put this face on, and you have to be somebody that maybe that day maybe that day he wanted to be Elvis Presley. Some days maybe he just wanted a day off, but he didn't get a day off. He had to have that face on every single day. And I can't imagine his career span 20 something years, and I'm going, what a lot of pressure to have to get up every day and to carry this face. And if you look at any picture, I made a post today where I talked about on Instagram. I talked about a picture that's become one of my favorites, and it's of him in the red suit, backstage in Little Rock. And I've figured out over the years what I love about that picture. There's nobody else in that picture. He's by himself, and somebody made a comment, really cool comment on there. They said, yeah, he was, for just a second, he was kind of alone. But, right across the room, there were 20 other people. But in his world, being in a room where he had maybe a few feet between him and 30 or 40 other people was kind of being alone. So I think that's what I like about that picture, is that he got a chance to, kind of just step away for a minute.
And just riding your coattails a little bit on that one. The other one that I always, there's a video clip of it. where he's in Jacksonville,
Yep.
Florida, and he's in the limo, and he's got Esposito with him, and they sing a little bit. They talk about I think we talked about this. They said, did that rocket go off? Well, that morning Apollo 16
That's right.
had launched, but and then like he just kind of stops, and you see him kind of put his finger, and he's looking at the window, and it's just like he's in solitude, and I always wonder like what's going through his mind. Because I do know that sometimes he would question, and this has gone on record. He's questioned people very close to him. He'd say, why did God pick me to do this? He I don't want to say he struggled with it, but it's something that he asked himself because he always looked at his twin brother that died. It was stillborn. He always said, why did God choose me to live and not him or both of us? So it just showed the humanity of who he was, and I think. I think that sometimes gets lost on people that, he's put in such high regard, and he should be, but what they forget is that he was a human being. He was a person with feelings and emotions and insecurities. And people say Elvis Presley insecurity, he could have any woman he wanted, but he dealt with a lot. And again, this is kind of going off of what the whole purpose of this channel is, but I knew when I asked you that question you'd have a solid answer, but. So moving on, what are you guys kind of on hiatus? Are you? Because I know you just got back from Memphis, and you also went to was it Utah?
No, there's nothing left in Utah. It's all gone. Salt Palace was the only place he performed in Utah.
Well, I'm saying, but I know you went to Memphis for a little bit, and then you went to another city. I thought that was Utah.
Little Rock. We just jumped across, went to Little Rock, knocked that out. But yeah, we never had out of the bag where we're headed next because we wanted to be a surprise. So we kind of keep that under wraps. And then the day that we head out, to the airport will be the day Michael will put it up. And I want to give a shout out to him before I run out of time. But all the and I always try to do this every chance I get. The editing, we get so many compliments on the editing. And I want to make sure that people know it's this guy here. I just, I pay for the trip and then we go and then, he does the filming when we get there and I do like the talking and stuff like that. But then the hard work begins when we get back. He has to sit in there for hours and hours and get it right. And we'll sit down together. We'll lay out the video, how we want it to flow. They typically flow pretty much the same way, but it's dependent upon what information we have. And then he goes in there and spends hours editing. And I just think he does a fantastic.
He does a fantastic job. In fact, we kidded last time we met. I asked him if he went to college for, did he get his master's at that? Because he's so good at it. And it's very natural. It's not he doesn't sound like a radio or a host, or he doesn't sound like a game show host. It's all fluid. It's natural. You can feel the, there's excitement there, but it's not over the top. It just comes across as very genuine. He does great with it. So yeah, Michael, I second that. You do a fantastic job. What I really like you guys started doing not that long ago are your mini videos, where you have a lot of your videos, you have the longer, 9, 10, 14-minute ones. And then your mini videos is like a quick look, kind of a peek at what you do. It's 3 to 4 minutes. And those are really cool. You guys just started doing them a couple of months back. So kudos to you on that as well.
Yeah, I started
Was
doing
it your brainchild, Michael?
Say again?
Was that your brainchild? Was that your idea?
Yeah, because I was sitting home and we were in like a kind of hiatus because we were in between like 2 big videos, and I was like, man, we've been to all these, because once COVID happened and we started our channel, that's when we started like documenting these really good to like make the videos. But beforehand, there were these cities that we go to where it was like we just go in, take some pictures and like little videos and just leave. And I was like, we've been to them and we want to share them. And I was like, why not just make like a little video to show like, what we did, even though it's not a super long video because, we didn't take a lot of pictures and videos. So I was like, I'll just make these short videos that I can post more frequently than the longer videos. And we can share stuff. So that's why I started doing that. And I think I got a couple more lined up.
Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to it. I got the notification as soon as your video pops up. I see a little red dot next to your icon or your thumbnail, and man, I get excited about seeing it. Kind of like, waiting for a cliffhanger from one week to the next when you're watching an episode on TV. So,
Well,
like I said, first class stuff.
I appreciate that. I really do, Mark. And, like I say, the passion that we have for doing this, I mean, I've been an Elvis fan my entire life. And like I say, I owe a lot to my mom, for that. But what I love so much now is that, we get out on the road. I was thinking about a trip today that we took when we did a Texas tour where we hit every city performed at in Texas. And we were on the road for about 3,200 miles or something like that, just on the road. And gave us a real good feeling for what Elvis had to endure back in the 50s when they were, driving everywhere. But yeah, and I love being out there with him. It's a great time for
Father son.
for he and I to be together and just we talk about this stuff. He's as passionate about it as I am. We get excited when we get in these buildings, and people have always asked us, do you feel any kind of presence and stuff like that when you're in there? And there's many buildings. I can't speak for every one of them, but there's definitely an energy there that's left behind. I don't see how somebody can be that big and not leave some sort of an energy behind. I don't believe in ghosts and stuff like that. I don't think he's walking the halls of, Hampton Roads Coliseum, but I do think like when we did Little Rock.
It's like an aura.
There is, yeah. And so like when we went in that room where I stood in front of that beam and I said, right here's where he stood and talked. And then he was warming up his voice, where he does that little one line of that song, Never Gonna Cease My Wondering. Do you know where he's warming his voice? I stood right there in front of that post and we played that with the door shut and it echoed. And I'm telling you, that was pretty wild. But yeah, stuff like that we just love doing and just going back in time because we just we're just trying to give back a little bit. We used to say that at the end of our videos, we're just trying to give back a little bit of what he gave all the people, so if we can keep it, that's what we're trying to do.
Well, again, kudos to both of you. It's a fantastic channel. For those that are watching this, I've included in the description, there's the link to their YouTube channel. If you're an Elvis fan, got to check it out. Go through the library. You'll see all these different cities we've talked about in this interview. Top notch stuff. Like, subscribe, just watch, just whatever you want to do. I noticed in the back there you got some memorabilia. Is that all your different things in the back there?
There's a couple things back.
It's a portion of.
It's a portion.
Yeah, I don't know if you follow Travis on Daily Elvis Posts. He's been one of our supporters from the very beginning. And I was actually chatting with him. We might do a live this week, just him and I, where we show our collection. So that information will come out if anyone wants to check on our Instagram.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, I didn't want to take up too much of your time. I will say both of you have been very gracious with your time. You've been very nice and supportive, and I really appreciate you guys taking this time out to meet with me, talk about your channel. And like I said, if you guys haven't seen it, check it out again. The link to the channel will be in the description. The video will be up right after, minutes after this ending. Check it out. But check out their channel. It's really, really awesome. But yeah, guys, I really appreciate all your time. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right, Mark.